So this is just a quick little follow-up video from my last video, and I just want to point out, okay, what type of men oppose the notion, the fact, all right, the truth, God's truth and God's law, that men are above women and women are supposed to be controlled by men. What type of men oppose this? All right, the type of men who want women to not be controlled, all right, so that they are unprotected, so that these women are vulnerable, more easily taken advantage of and abused. Okay, so that's the type of man who opposes women being controlled by men. Because when women are controlled by men, all right, so when a woman has a man, either her father or her husband, who is her authority and her shepherd, all right, he is also her protector. So a big part of a man controlling women and children is protection. And if we aren't able to control, we can't protect. Okay, so the type of men who don't want women controlled by men are the type of men who want women to be vulnerable and able to be easily abused because they don't have men controlling them in order to protect them. Okay, so what type of women oppose this idea that, again, this truth, God's truth, that women are supposed to be controlled by men. Women were created by God to be helpers, a helpmeet, to serve men, right? So what type of women oppose this? Women who oppose being controlled by a man, all right, do so when they're aware that this man, all right, or men, are out of their league, all right? So they're too low quality of women. They'll never be able to get these men. They'll never be able to get the average man. They'll never be able to get men like us, or men like the men you know, right? My sisters out there. So these women who reject being controlled by a man, okay, it's because they know that this man will reject them because they're too low quality of a woman. So they can never get this man. They can't have this. They can't get this. So they will say, oh, women shouldn't be controlled by men. What are you, a misogynist, or etc., etc. And it's because they know if they actually wouldn't want to get with you, they find you attractive, right? You're above their league, right? You're out of their league. So these women will say that they don't want to be controlled by men because you're out of their league. And they don't want to accept that if they tried to get with you and were submissive and allowed you to control them, you would just reject them because they're low quality women anyway. You wouldn't want to keep her around. You'd tell her to piss off. Bye. Okay, so instead of going through that process, or even just accepting that reality and having to have accountability of her lack of worth and value, all right, and have that self-awareness that she can't get men like us because she's too low quality of a woman. And sadly, in the Western world today, this is the vast majority of women. The vast majority of women are too low quality of women to actually get any man of quality. So the only men that the vast majority of women are actually interacting with are the men who want to abuse them and use them and take advantage of them. And these men will happily tell them, oh no, women shouldn't be controlled and we're equal and all that, and then use them for sex or whatever it is, and then reject them as well. Okay, so these women are just low quality. They can't actually get a man. Okay, they can't even get a low quality man. So they don't try. Instead, they just say, I'm an independent woman and I shouldn't be controlled by a man. And they put on this whole big act. And all it is just to deny that they could never get with the average man. The average woman can't get and secure the average man. We will reject them. And that's scary for the average one. As men, we get used to rejection. We're pretty used to it. But for women, they take it really serious. So they don't want to even accept. Okay, so the vast majority of women can't get a man. Okay. And ironically too, if you look at the statistics, the majority of men, okay, aren't dating. Okay, I've stepped out of the dating pool and aren't dating at all. The majority of men, but apparently, the majority of women claim that they still are dating. But that doesn't mathematically make any sense. It doesn't equal. If the majority of men aren't dating, how can a majority of women be dating? That's right, they're not. Okay? These women aren't dating. The vast majority of women aren't dating. They don't have boyfriends. Alright? They all share abusers and men that take advantage of them. And these men that abuse them and take advantage of them just pass them on, and they usually have like 10 of them at a time or something. So that's how you get the statistics. That's how it mathematically adds up, because the majority of men aren't dating, but apparently the majority of women are. So it's like 80% of women are dating 20% of men. So every single one of these men has at least a minimum of 4 women at a time. So none of these women, this is 80% of the women in the younger generation, maybe not the older generations already settled down or whatever, but younger generations who are in the dating market, alright, 80% of the women in these younger generations, at least all of the time, 4 of them at minimum are sharing one man. They're not actually dating. They're just being used by men who want to abuse them. And these are the men who say that women shouldn't be controlled, so that they can use and abuse these women for sex. And then these women, 80% of women or so, they know that they can't actually secure any man, not even the lowest quality, ugliest, brokest, lowest quality man you can think of. 80% of women can't even get him. And they know it. So they just pretend like they don't want to be controlled by men and they're free, they're independent, and then they get used and abused by this 20% of men who are still in the dating market, who are just taking advantage of them and leading them on, etc. And they don't even bother trying with other actual men, because they know we'll just reject them. We're not going to put up with their nonsense. Alright? So, I mean, a big part of it is they actually aren't capable of submitting and being controlled. So that's one of the qualities of being a good woman. Right? So one of the fundamental qualities, one of the greatest values, these days, what do women say? When you say, alright, you want men to bring all of this to the table? You want men to provide, or what do you bring to the table, love? And then she'll be like, I don't have to bring anything. I am the table. They have this ridiculous attitude, right? Because they know they have nothing of value to bring. one of the things that a woman can actually bring to the table, that she's supposed to bring to the table, that will allow her to actually have a man and not just be rejected as a hoe or a dirty whore. Alright? One of the things a woman can bring to the table is submissiveness and allowing a man to control her. That's one of the things a woman can bring of value to a relationship. Her willingness to be controlled by a man. And these women, alright, they're too arrogant and prideful. Right? So they know that they struggle with that. They struggle having any value as a woman. They struggle submitting themselves and allowing a man to control them. So they have no value. They can't offer anything to a man because they can't submit themselves. So they know they'll just be rejected. So they just own it. And they just claim like, oh, why should a man control me? Deep down, the reality is they have a fault within themselves. They lack the value and worth of a woman to be controlled by a man. So instead of owning up and taking accountability for their lack of value and worth as a woman, again, it's one of the greatest things a woman can offer in a relationship is her ability to submit and be controlled. Right? That's one of the only things a woman can bring to the table. It's one of the only things of value a woman even has to offer. The fact that she can submit herself and be controlled. And these women are aware of this, even though they don't want to face it and they want to deny it and don't want to take accountability. They're aware that one of the only things of value they have as a woman to even bring into a relationship is their ability to be controlled by their man. But they fail at this. They're not good enough. They struggle to be controlled by a man. They can't do it. So they have no value. They know that they're not even worth, they don't even have value to offer, again, to the ugliest, brokest, lowest quality man, let alone an average man or a well-off, attractive man. So they just don't try. And then instead of being honest and saying, look, guys, we've given up because we're useless whores and we have no value as women to offer even the lowest quality, ugliest, brokest man who would still reject and dump us because we have nothing of value to even offer him. Instead of accepting this, 80% of women, they just go into denial and say, you're broke, what are you, gay? They throw all these excuses and obfuscations and justifications and denials at you, and they'll say that if you expect them to submit and for them to be controlled by a man, then you're a misogynist, and so that's where this whole idea comes from. Okay, of it's bad. Why would you? How dare you want to control your woman? How dare you want to have control as a man? That whole idea literally comes from just these types of men that want to take advantage of women, and these types of women who know they have no value or worth to offer any actual man in an actual relationship. So they've just given up, essentially, and go into denial.